Hi, and welcome to 15 minutes of consulting best practices. The format here is really simple. You ask questions by typing them in the chat, or you can sometimes submit them via email during the week. And then I'll answer your questions, or we answer your questions, so that you can have a more satisfying, happier, better consulting practice. I'm David A. Fields. I was going to be joined by one of my colleagues, Mahlouli Dubey, but Mahlouli's computer decided it didn't want to come to work this morning, so it'll be just me. So just you and me and some of our best friends. Hi, Michael. Happy Monday. The rest of you also, just let me know you're here. And if you have questions, please start typing them in, because it takes a minute to show up sometimes. However, I know that there were some questions left over from last time. I'm almost positive. I don't remember exactly what the questions were, but I know there were questions. So, Jaren, what do we have that was left over from last time? We'll start there. And in the meantime, folks, join in. And hi, John. All right. Olga said, I want to piggyback on the question about collaborators and referral partners, such as SaaS companies, etc. How do you advise to structure those relationships? Got it. Okay, yeah. So last time we had been talking about using collaborators, folks whose tribes you can borrow, and in order to create more awareness of you and your consulting firm and all of that. And collaboration in 2026 is, I think, going to be extremely important. It is a marketing must I would focus on. And Deepak, I'll answer your question in a little bit. Okay, so how do you structure those relationships? This isn't particularly complex, Olga. First of all, I actually wouldn't worry overly about structure. Focus on creating value for the collaborator, for your partner, and for their tribes. So really think about what will make your collaborator appear even more valuable to their own tribe, that also gives you an opportunity to get exposure. And that's where your attention should be. That is your starting point. Now, I mean, you and the collaborator may want to come to an agreement on whether there's any financial implications if a member of their tribe becomes your client, or maybe the reverse. Maybe a member of your tribe becomes their client. The challenge is I think a lot of collaboration conversations start there. They start with, okay, let's first come to an agreement on who gets what and how. And that's a mistake, because that's not where the focus should be. The focus should be on creating value, not for you and not really for them particularly, but for their tribe. That said, you could agree to there being no financial implications at all, which is quite common. We'll create value for you and your tribe, and everybody wins. And if I get a client, that's great, because you're not competitors in any way. Or you might agree to a referral fee. I mean, a pretty standard referral fee is 10%, whereas you do something for their tribe, someone comes into you, and you pay them. I will tell you, it's actually the most common is just, we're creating value here, and if someone gets a client, that's excellent. And there's one other, I suppose, possibility, which is sometimes you create a really tight collaboration, for instance, with a SaaS company, where they bring you in explicitly as part of their contract. And at that level of cooperation and collaboration, then you will need to set up a different structure. But that's pretty specific. And if that's what you're talking about, let me know, Olga. Okay. And the rest of you, let me know what you think, and whether you have any other questions or follow-on questions, whether that helped. I don't have a partner here today to bounce it off of, so I'm going to bounce it off of you. You tell me whether I missed something, or you think about it differently. All right. Deepak, will I be publishing a new book? Yeah, at some point. My third book's like 3 years. No, sorry, more like 5 years overdue. Yeah, we'll get there. There are a few in the works. Books take a lot of time, and my books I write every word, and so they take time, and we've been really busy. So that's but yeah, there's other books in the work, other books coming. John said, what do you suggest for how to deal with groups such as the proper group? They have a predefined approach with percentages for referrals and participation in contracts. Well, John, and do you think that an upfront for annual fee to engage is reasonable? That sounds less like a collaboration. I'm not as familiar with them, actually. So you should, John, tell me more about how they work. I'm not sure that I would consider that a collaboration partner, because I'm not sure that they're putting you in front of their tribe. If it's that predefined, it sounds like they just bring in all sorts of people, and that's a little bit of a different. I mean, it's a different situation. An upfront annual fee, no. I think that's missing the point. And you should look for other partners. If they're making their money off of you joining, something's wrong. They should be making money, your collaborator, from their tribe in their way. And then that way everybody's focused on the tribe, not them focused on how do I sell stuff, or bring in money, not from my tribe, but from people who want to have access. Okay, that'd be my answer to that. Again, let me know if you have more questions or whether that made sense. Jaron, we had another one, didn't we? Okay. Good, John. I'm glad that answers the question. Tyra, do you believe venture capital firms are good collaborators? That's an interesting one. Do I believe venture capital firms are good collaborators? So some of you are going to educate me, because I sometimes find the line between venture capital and private equity to be blurry, and so some of you who are like, no, it's really clear. Can tell me why it's really clear? So I find sometimes VC firms refer to themselves as PE, and PE refer to themselves as venture. But for sake of argument, let's say I'm going to say no, they're not great collaborators, because it actually doesn't matter whether they're venture VC firms or PE firms. VC firms, I think, tend to be a little bit earlier in the process. And so the first question to think about when you're thinking about a collaborator is, do they have a tribe? Do they have a tribe that includes my potential clients? And by their nature, VCs typically have a fairly small tribe, and since they tend to invest early, they're startups that don't have a whole lot of extra spending. We're not huge fans of startups. It's not the worst target, but they have less cash than others sometimes. Sometimes very well, there are established startups that are already in a later round of funding, where there might be some private equity investment, and that might be okay. The bigger challenge is that we have found PE firms especially, and maybe to a slightly lesser extent VC firms, aren't particularly receptive to consultants unless that consultant has a point solution that is very particular to the VC or private equity mission. For instance, due diligence firms can always win business with PEs. But your general management consulting firm, the vast majority of them are not attractive to those folks. So they're not, I don't think they're the best collaborators. Everybody who disagrees with me, let me know. Let's see. Jaron, I don't know if we had another that was from last week also. All right. Jaron is telling me, getting a little signal here, we have another leftover, and then I'll answer Heather your question and Dan your question. What do we say? Okay, I don't know if this was leftover from last week. I think this was older. I don't do outreach because if I'm honest, I'm afraid I don't know what to do if they don't get back to me. What am I supposed to talk about? Okay, let's answer that one, and then I'll jump onto these other couple that are coming in. So this actually we see fairly often, where folks are hesitant to reach out because, oh my gosh, what if someone reaches back? Like I think it was Dan, I just asked, what do I talk about? Don't worry about what you talk about. You don't have to be intelligent, right? You're thinking, oh, I need to have something smart to say. I need to make sure I look great. No. Don't worry about being intelligent. Worry about being interested. because it's not about you, it's about them. So as long as you are interested in them, you have everything you need to have a conversation, which is why we start every conversation with the right side up inquiry. If I was on the phone with Dan here or on Zoom, and because Dan wrote back, say, "Wow, couple of little pleasantries," and then what would make this conversation really helpful and useful and valuable to you? That's the right side up inquiry. Makes every conversation go well. You have nothing to worry about. You also, by not reaching out, it's sort of funny. If you reach out to someone, there's a chance that they don't reach back. In which case, you will not have a conversation with someone you weren't going to have a conversation with anyway. So it doesn't make sense to not reach out. Just reach out to folks. The folks who don't want to talk with you won't reach back to you. And folks who have an interest in talking with you will reach back, and you just be interested in them. Okay. So let me know whether that works or not. Okay. We have a couple more that came in. Heather, I'm thinking about co-creating a conference with aligned but not competing partners. Worried about brand ownership. Ownership of the conference brand or I'm not sure exactly your question, Heather. We love those kind of collaborations. You can do them with folks who compete with you. As a matter of fact, that's often better. If you have 2 or 3 of you that do the same thing, you will all get more business. You look actually like what you're talking about, like the issue you solve, each of you is even more important because there are multiples of you talking about it. You each have your own approach. You'll each win some percentage of the pie, but the entire pie will be bigger when you do it with other folks who do the same thing as you. But doing it with folks who are adjacent is also good. I'm not 100% sure what the brand ownership question is. So Heather, explain that a little bit more, and then I will answer it. The conference brand. Share it, or you own it. Create the brand and ask people if they want to be part of it. If you're doing the hard work, and let me tell you, setting up one of these conferences is very hard work. It's not for the faint of heart. Okay, it will take you a substantial amount of effort. If you're the one putting in the work, it's your brand, and they could join it. If they're going to share it with you, then maybe you jointly own it. That brand, the conference brand, isn't the most important thing because you're not going into the conference business. You're still in the consulting business, and the conference is just a channel. It's a conduit. Dan, how do you recommend we move prospects that have a vendor mindset towards consultants to a partner? Vendor mindset towards consultants to a partnering mindset, or do we just avoid those relationships? Yes, it depends. It's a really good question. Some folks, it depends a little bit where they sit in the organization, how they're rewarded. Some prospects, if they are in procurement and they're rewarded for treating people like vendors, it might be slightly harder to switch them. But generally, you just want to have a conversation with folks about what they're trying to do and whether they view the work as commodity or not. If they think that the work can be easily solved by just about anyone, or there's just a lot of interchangeable folks, then let them go find one of those interchangeable folks. What we have found practically, the best way to shift someone from that vendor mindset to a partnering mindset is to reframe their thinking, to use what we call a core model that explains their world in a new way, in a way they hadn't thought of before. And once people start seeing the world through that new model, that approach that you've laid out, they're basically yours, because now there aren't a lot of different people talking about how they've defined the world. They are talking about the world the way you defined it. And now you can start to partner. So Dan, that may have been too conceptual. Let me know. But with that, just me chatting with you, we've already hit 15 minutes. So thank you for spending the 15 minutes with me. A couple of notes. I don't know if we have a image that will do this, Jaron. I found that, shockingly, that some of you have not read the book, Irresistible Consultant's Guide to Winning Clients. If you have not read that, and if you've read it, you can read it again. If you've never read it, you can use a little QR code. And oh my gosh, what a great holiday gift. So you should probably buy at least 100. My publisher would be very happy if you did that. Okay, so let's do that. If you've not connected to me, we've got Marisabel in there too, but you can connect to me on LinkedIn. There's the profile. Thank you much, Jaron, very much, Jaron. And finally, if you don't receive the articles each week, definitely subscribe. There it is. Thanks, Jaron. There's so much good information every week. And thank you for joining me. I hope you have a fabulous holiday season. Remember, consulting isn't about you, it's about them. That's where we started today. It's about your clients and your prospects. Give them value, give them kindness. We're off for 2 weeks while we celebrate the holidays. So I will, and my team will see you in the new year. Happy holidays, everyone. Take care, stay safe. We'll talk to you soon.